I'm Janet Richmond, and this is the Higher Self Voice. Well, good morning, viewers. Happy Tuesday morning. I'm Janet Richmond, and welcome to my show, The Higher Self Voice. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a soul scan healer. I'm an author of 2 books, and I'm also a radio show host, not only on this show, but I have a show every Wednesday morning, and I've done that one for 6 years. It doesn't have the video element, but it's a great show. Anyway, I'm here and doing this show because I give out information everywhere. On my radio show on Wednesdays, I have my 2 books. I'm giving out information everywhere. This show is really to have the viewers understand and feel the work, because anybody and everybody can do this work for themselves. We carry everything we need with us. We're well equipped. We can bring ourselves into a state of balance, healing, joy, fulfillment, expansion, movement forward. Whatever you want, you can really bring it into your lives. You can manifest it in your lives using the work that I teach. This show is just so that you get a feel for it, and I invite different types of guests every week. I have a wonderful guest this week, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I want you to see that anybody from any walk of life is able to do the work, to find the ability within to do it, and hey, we don't have to wait for anybody else to do it for us. We can do it all by ourselves. It's really great. Anyway, so today I have Marleni on the show. She is a good friend of mine. She's originally from Peru. She came to this country in about 2002, I believe, in order to study public health. She has gotten her master's, and she is now working in Chatsworth for a Head Start, thank you, Head Start program, and she loves it. She is also been married for 8 years to a wonderful guy, and they just recently had a baby boy, and luckily the dad is just gaga over the baby, and he had a day off today, so he's able to look after Gavin, her son, so that she can be on the show with me. So welcome, Marleni.
Oh, thank you.
Did I by any chance leave anything out that you wanted to?
No, you cover everything.
Oh.
Thank you for having me in your show. I'm very excited.
No, this is something different, but Marleni and I have known each other, since about 2010?
10.
So what is that?
6 years.
6 years. Now, you were just reminding me earlier how we met. I didn't realize it. So why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about how we met?
Sure. I attended your workshop that you presented on the body tree in 2010.
The Bodhi tree?
Yeah. And it was about the framework of the universe. It was really interesting, and, I've been hooked to this work ever since, as you know.
Yeah. She went to that workshop. She's been hooked. She started going to my meetup groups, and we began to work together. Because one of the great things, and I want the audience to understand, if you can find someone to do the work with you, oh my gosh, it's so great, because you make time every week or every other week, however often you set up to do it, 3 times a week. You make time to do it with one another, and you really focus, and it helps to get the other person's independent, more objective viewpoint about what could be, underlying, what's the foundation for whatever thing you're working on.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
And we've seen that, from the beginning. I remember going into meetup, finding your group, and attending these meetings that you had, sometimes in your house, sometimes in another, venue. But yes, it's amazing work, and it's helped me a lot. And what I like about it is how easy it is to actually accomplish things and change in your life. You don't necessarily have to follow certain rules or structures. It's very flexible, and you can accommodate it, in your life many different ways, so that's what I love about it.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, it is flexible, and it isn't either or, so you can use it with whatever else you do. And it can enhance and empower whatever else you do. And so that's what I really love about it. It's also not about belief. The higher selves would say stand between belief and disbelief in a state of neutrality, because any belief or disbelief creates limits. And so we want to be neutral. We want to, and you don't have to believe. I had a couple of clients, actually, that didn't speak English. They had no understanding, so it wasn't about believing or disbelieving. They just would come and they would gain and benefit, even though they had no idea really what was going on. So that's
And that's great.
Yeah,
yes.
that's helpful. So tell me, why don't you give some examples to the viewers about how the work has helped you? Maybe we should talk about our group with Shasta. Do you think?
Sure, yes.
Okay, well, what was it, about 3 years ago? Another gal, Shasta, came to my meetup, and she wanted a buddy. And so I said, I didn't have anyone to give her. So I said, well, my friend Marleni and I, we work together from time to time. Maybe, you'd like to join us. So that's what happened. And so Shasta and Marleni, especially for the first couple of years, we worked really hard. Not necessarily every week, but maybe 2 or 3 weeks out of a month.
Yes, definitely more frequently than now.
Now it's, our lives have changed,
almost.
Marleni.
Well,
as a baby.
It was great to actually find Shasta. We love her. She's our dear friend. Hi, Shasta. And the good thing about it is, as you said, it's a work that you can do with other people. And what it's good about it is that you help each other. You complement whatever the other person finds. Sometimes it's easier to see things when you have other people working with you. So it's definitely something that very empowering and very, very good for us.
Yes, because when, I was a little more experienced when we started, of course, than Shasta and Marleni, but they got to be so good at it, picking up things. In fact, I talk a lot about past lives and how the journey that we've been on really affects our life today, and the whys and the wherefores. Shasta does not believe in past lives. She doesn't disbelieve, really, I would say, but she always relates to her issues based on what's gone on for her in this life. But the work has been equally powerful for her. Again, that's another illustration. It isn't about belief. You can take whatever element from it, and if you can move with the energy, which she does so well, you really can change. Oh my gosh, she's
all three of us are completely different people, I would say. We've seen major changes in all of our lives, and as you said, we don't necessarily believe on the same things, but we do the work together, and the base of the foundation of the work is something that we definitely agree on. And that's what has brought all these results for all three of us.
The light within, guys. It's the pure soul essence. If you watch my show before, and I'll talk about it a little bit when we do the session part of the show, Marleni is going to ask for a healing today, and so you'll learn about it when I do it. But I just did want to say, too, that we used to say to Shasta that she was on the bullet train. And she was moving through her issues so fast. We started saying, not only are you on the bullet train, but you drive that bullet train. And then something else major happened. She did another major thing. And so we said, Marleni, I think it was you, she said, Shasta, you not only are on the bullet train, not only do you drive that bullet train, but you own that train. And you know what? I want to get on that with you. And so that is really...
It is amazing, and it's good. It just as it happened to Shasta, it happened to me. It can happen to anybody.
Yes.
The key is, keep doing the work and just...
It's a journey. It's if you take tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of lives to build up your issues, your patterns, your limitations, your unhappiness in whatever dissatisfaction, it's going to take some time to start to peel away all those layers. But this work, I call it the Panama Canal of self-help, because it's a shortcut. You still have to take a journey. You may not, once the Panama Canal went in, you may not have to go around the tip of the South America. You can get through, but you still have to have a journey. And yet, if you've been suffering, or you're unhappy, or you want expansion that isn't coming in, and you've been wanting these things for years, even decades sometimes, so maybe it'll take you 6 months, a year, 2 or 3 years, but you do a complete 180 if you're consistent with the work.
And I like a metaphor that you once mentioned to us. It's like we're like onions, right? We have many layers.
Yes.
And then doing the work will help you shed some of those layers. And as you do, you find other things that you might have to work on. But it's a constant thing. It's an organic thing. It's
It is.
constantly moving. And
These
as
things are
Mhm.
complex. There isn't just one cause. And I think that's important for people to understand, because sometimes there are books out there say, well, if you have this disease, for example, it's because of this, and they give one cause.
Mhm.
And what I've learned from this work is that cause may be part of the issue, but there's usually maybe even dozens of pieces to whatever the issue is that you're not happy with in your life.
Mhm.
So, yeah. It is like an onion. And I'll tell you another analogy that I use a lot. I haven't used it lately, but you've heard this one, the gym.
Oh, yes.
If you want to get yourself in shape physically and you go to the gym for the first time, you see all these machines and you see, weights and classes and everything. You don't know where to start. You might have a trainer for a time or two just to get you oriented, learn the techniques. And then you have to go to the gym. If you go to the gym once a month, you're not going to see any results, and pretty soon you're not going to go to the gym anymore. But if you go consistently, you start to see the shifts and the changes. And so the more consistent you are, the more dedicated you are to getting yourself into shape physically, the faster it'll go. It's the same with this work. If you commit to it, it will really turn your life around. And also, if you get in shape physically, after 6 months, you say, oh, I don't need to do this anymore, and you stop.
That's totally me.
You're not, in the spiritual work, you don't go backwards, but you just stop progressing.
Mhm.
Of course, you can go backwards if you stop the physical, but once you neutralize the stuff and take off those layers of the onion,
Mhm.
those are gone, but just more stuff bubbles up. Do you want to share with the viewers some of the things that have shifted in your life because of the work?
Yeah, I have a couple of examples.
Okay.
A pretty big one for me has been the fear of public speaking. I would say that maybe a year ago I wouldn't be able to be here, sitting here in front of this microphone. But that's something that I've really seen a lot of change and positive results doing this work. I remember back when I was doing my master's and I would have to do presentations for classes. It will be really hard work for me to prepare for those presentations. I will stay up all night, learning and studying basically word by word whatever I had to say.
Memorizing the whole script?
Memorizing everything. Yes, writing it down. I wouldn't be comfortable, just standing up there without having
bunch of
rehearsed
notes.
and
Yeah.
a bunch of notes and things like that. So that I've seen it change.
She
like-
used to come to Shasta and me and say, oh,
Yeah.
I have to leave because I'm going to be up all night.
Yeah.
I am preparing for my presentation tomorrow. And so we would help her work on the fear. And fear has
Yes.
been a...
And that's a big thing for me because in my field, public health, you have to, be able to present and talk to people and stand in front of a group of people and basically teach and educate. So it's helping me a lot. I've noticed at work, for example, I'm not so nervous anymore when I have to present. I'm more confident.
You don't even stay up
Uh-huh.
all night before,
Oh,
do you?
no, no.
It's so different, guys. She's not
Yes.
going to give you the details, but it's night and day. She's like,
Yes.
oh, I got to talk, because sometimes they get sprung on her. So she walks in the morning, she finds
Uh-huh.
out, oh, she's going to substitute for someone, and she just goes right in
So I'm
and
like,
does
okay,
it. Yeah,
all right,
she's
where do I
like-
have to go? So it's a completely different thing that it used to be, and
Yes.
that's something I'm proud of, and I'm very thankful. And results of the work that we do, that I do. So
Yeah, and that's a
Mhm.
big thing. Yeah. And what did you have a second example?
Well, is that, and also I would say fears in general, that I've seen change. We all carry fears,
course.
and they're usually, most of the time, related to other issues. So as we have worked together or done the work on my own, I've seen of being able not only to recognize fears that I didn't know that were there, but also, address them and see results.
Yeah, I know. You know, we all have fear, and some people wear it right here, and some it's more underneath. And Marleni has had it in different issues, and it's been really good because when we work on Marleni, or any of us work on each other, we all, Shasta and I are working on our own fears. So
Yes.
that's the other great thing, is that we all get to, even though we might be focusing on one or the other of us, the other two are always.
We all benefit
We all
from the work.
benefit. And so I wanted to say to the viewers, so when I'm working on Marleni, or anybody that I'm working on, just go through do exactly how I'm instructing Marleni, do it yourself. And even though I might come up with something for Marleni, some detail or some past life or whatever I come up with, and it's not yours, the underneath foundation is we all carry it as part of the human condition, the fear or the shame or the confusion or whatever it might be. So you
Yes.
can help yourself while you're watching the show. Hey, pretty good. Okay. Well, why don't you tell us what it is you want to work on today?
Well, as you know, I recently had a baby.
Yeah.
And that I feel that has brought up some concerns. I feel more vulnerable in terms of, I have this fear that something's going to happen to me. I have this little person who is fully dependent on me, which I didn't have before.
Right.
So I guess that, that pressure kind of thing.
Yeah, suddenly you're responsible for
Exactly.
somebody.
And that's very, very stressful and very scary. I'm constantly thinking, something's going to come out, something's going to happen. I start driving somewhere, what can happen to me,
Voice of doom, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. I have this feeling of doom, like something's going to come out of the left field and change everything. And it can be very stressful.
Well, I mean, it's so understandable.
Mm-hmm.
I once fell, this is a number of years ago, and for the first time I felt so physically vulnerable after that. I was fine. I mean, I was okay. It did hurt myself, but not terrible. But it brought up that sense of real physical vulnerability that I'd never had before. And oh my gosh, I worked really hard on it. Then like a year later, I was in a car accident. I was just sitting at the light. Somebody ran me from behind. That physical fear didn't come up, but I'd had, and I worked really hard on it, because you don't want to walk around being worried that something's going to happen to you. You're going to get a disease. You're going to get somebody's going to.
Yes, and
Something's gonna happen?
that's something that is really definitely concerning to me right now.
Okay.
I'm constantly feeling that.
Yeah.
Especially at night when I'm by myself, the baby's sleeping,
Right.
and it's hard for me to go to sleep right away because I have so many other things to take care of. That comes into my mind, and it's just not only stressful and scary, but it's also draining. I feel that it drains my energy. I end up even more tired than I regularly am, and just a constant worry. You don't
Yes.
want to be carrying that through your day.
Right.
So that's definitely something that I would like to work on.
Well, great, because I think everyone can relate to fears of some sort, and having knowing you and seeing a lot of progress in a lot of your other fears. By the way, she had an absolutely extreme fear of flying, whether she was flying or anyone she knew was flying, and it would last for weeks before the flight. It was just chronic, terrible anxiety. Now, you still are afraid to fly, but the degree is much less.
Oh yes, oh yes.
my
I
gosh.
used to stress weeks before, or even the thought. I don't have any planned trip or anything like that, but the thought of in the future I might want to go somewhere, yeah, that
It
will
would set it
trigger
off.
fear. Yes.
Yeah. So fears is one of your bigger issues, and you've made a lot of progress with it, which
Mhm.
is fantastic. And so I think this is just another element of it.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we get started?
Sure.
All right, I'm just going to drink a little water here.
Me too.
Okay, I want to just say, in case you've just tuned in, I'm Janet Richmond, and this is my show, The Higher Self Voice, and I'm about to do a healing session, a soul scan healing on Marleni, my guest today. And her issue is sort of this feeling of vulnerability, the fear of what if something happens to her. She's just had the brand new baby. What if something happens to her? This is a helpless, child, and so it's triggered off this sense of doom for her. So I'm going to be working on her. Okay, so again, just follow along, viewers. All right. Okay, so we're going to begin by focusing on that pure soul essence. Again, it's not the term, but it is the light that we carry, the divine light that every soul, from the lowliest grain of sand to the highest, most evolved being carries. Everyone carries, and it is everything that the originating source was, is, and is becoming. It is divine in nature, and we need to focus on it in order to give it permission, in essence, to move into our free will arena. The divine energies are always present. We carry them with us 24/7, but they cannot trespass our free will. The human kingdom is a free will kingdom, and therefore we have to invite in the divine energies. They are extremely powerful, our purest, most perfect, most potent personal power that we have. And right now I want you to focus on it. It is the focus that gives the permission. It is what opens that door and allows that divine energy to move into our pattern, to move into this arena, this healing arena, to allow us to do the healing. So I'm going to ask you, Marleni, and all the viewers to focus on this light within. You can use the flame of a candle or a spark of light, or what I like to recommend for a symbol to focus on is the symbol of the sun, because the sun itself is so powerful that it allows us to connect more easily to the immense power that we carry at the divine level within. And so I want you, Marleni, and all the viewers to begin to see that incredibly brilliant light, or feel it, or imagine it, sense it, whatever works for you. Each individual is different, and see it expand in, through, and around the totality of the physical body, and ask that it continues to expand past the physical body, because our beingness does not end at the skin. We carry many etheric bodies around us, and so we want this powerful light to move into the etheric bodies and beyond, to become one, in essence, with the totality of who we are at the mind level. The mind is the aspect of our souls in this life, and at the soul level, which is the conglomerate of the minds of all the past lives we've lived. So we want the light to move in, through, and around the totality of the soul process, becoming one with it, and it's creating, and I'm seeing now, Marleni and I have become more or less beacons of light, because as we move this light in, through, and around the totality, we are creating what I call the forever now moment. And this is an energetic field that encompasses the totality of who we are from the moment in time we have been expressed as minerals, and all of the journey through the mineral, plant, animal, human kingdom, and beyond. And as a result, the soul process is quite extensive. It's huge, in fact, and the light of the pure soul essence is creating tremendous beacons of both Marleni and I. I am now beginning to see beacons moving to my right and to my left. Other viewers, past, present, and future, have moved in, and they are moving through the amalgamation process at the same time, and we are creating a tremendous beacon of light right here in this room, and it is expanding to much bigger than this room, bigger than the whole planet. In fact, it's moving out into the human kingdom universe, known and unknown, and it's a very powerful energy field. And we bring this pure soul essence light, this divine light, to become part of us, to amalgamate with us, to merge with us, in order to bring the healing into the very highest level that we can. We don't want to just work on one incident, one lifetime, one situation, one condition. We want to work on the totality of what we're carrying, allowing the soul, which is giving our own soul, or Marleni's soul, that gives the permission of how much the how many layers of the onion are going to be neutralized today. By bringing in the totality of the experience, it allows the soul to release a lot more layers than if we just dealt with one issue or one life. The soul will decide in its own point in time where it's had enough for today. It's got a lot to acclimate to, and it's just at some point it'll be enough. But at least we open up the possibilities to as allowing the soul to choose as deep and as many layers that it wishes to dissolve. So right now we're going to move the totality of this giant beacon of light into the symbolic pure soul essence of the originating source. That is the symbol I use is a diamond, 2 4-sided pyramids base to base, and it is an energetic diamond. It encompasses the totality of this forever now moment that we've set up, and it is our guarantee that we're working from the very highest level, and also that we have this incredibly humongous infinite resource to pull on should we ever need to pull in more energies. Okay, now right now I am seeing the platform, the symbolic platform being set up between Marleni and I, even though we're sitting really close to one another. It's just a way to give me a focus, a point of focus for me to tune into. And right now I'm seeing Marleni symbolically moving onto the platform, and she is sort of in a crouch. She is expecting doom to drop out of the sky. She is looking up symbolically to the sky, meaning that she's looking up into the environment, waiting for something to fall on her. She's crouched down. She's ready to get under cover. There's the sense of being completely vulnerable, completely unsafe. And that's where I want you to begin, Marleni. Let's just begin with a whole idea of the lack of safety, that you're so vulnerable, that you are just, there's a rawness here, that it's almost like you're there's lightning slashing through the skies all around you, and you're out on an open field, and there's nothing to hide under, nothing to hide behind, no way to get away from it. You are absolutely a sitting duck, and that's what it feels like you feel. So, and you may not feel that much of a sitting duck at the conscious mind level, but honestly, this is very deep, this whole idea that you're a sitting duck, and I want you and all the viewers too to release the idea that we're sitting duck, that we don't know. I mean, what do we see around on the news? You know, we see terrorist attacks, we see accidents, or we see natural disasters happening when people aren't expecting it, and we can all and have all experienced being a sitting duck. Things happening that we didn't understand, we didn't expect, and so I want you to begin to release this whole idea of being a sitting duck. And the interesting thing is, excuse me, the interesting thing is, as you're releasing this darkness, it's coming out as this sort of dark, doomish, really scary kind of a lot of fear. It's creating almost a smoke screen, and you're hiding behind it. And that's really interesting because it's really not a solid thing. It's not a real hiding place. But just letting it go, it's as if it makes you feel safer. There's a sense, symbolically, it's as if there's something safe about the fear. And I want to really address this because this is unusual. I don't believe I've seen this for you or for anyone else, but there is something safe for you about the fear. So you're letting it go, but you're not letting it go into the light to be neutralized. It's just sort of sitting out there. And part of it is that it keeps you, oh, okay. It's blinding you to the reality. Somehow the fear is all-encompassing. In some ways you'd think, oh, when we're really afraid, we'll be much more sensitive to all the things that that could hurt us. But it's almost so distracting that you can't even focus. It's just one thought after another, and somehow it doesn't allow you to hone into any one thing. I don't know. It's a very interesting sort of convoluted thing that I'm not putting in words very well. I hope you're understanding what I'm meaning, but I want you to release the safety factor of all that fear. I find safety factors often in when I do this work, but this one is a new one on me. I want to go in and see if I can get a little more on it, because it's so sort of opposite of what you would think. And I would never have been able to think this up on my own. And okay, all right. The higher selves are kind of saying, indicating to me that I'm definitely on the right track, but to keep going with it. Okay, so Marleni, while I'm trying to get more information on it, I want you just to let all the fear go you can, and I'm going to bring in divine courage, divine clarity, divine expanded perception, divine serenity, to try to bring in some sort of calmness so that you can actually not only let the fear go, but allow it into the light, allow it to move into the light and to be neutralized, and to understand. We want divine understanding too to come in here, that it isn't really going to keep you safe. It's just so strange. So I want all of that to move into the light, and I want to see if I can understand a little bit more. And it is beginning to move into the light. It is beginning to neutralize. So I don't know, did you get a stomach ache or something? Because it just felt like it was giving you a stomach ache, or clench in some way, just clenching. And so I want all that clenching and that physical reaction to fear to be let go of. I think part of the safety is safety in the known element. Mm-hmm. You have had a lot of lives where there's been tremendous amount of things that have come out from the unexpected. The sense of doom that you have comes from real experiences you've had where you've been part of situations and conditions, societies and cultures where there have been unexpected attacks to the village, unexpected natural disasters, unexpected illnesses or betrayals and all sorts of things. And so you do carry a sense of doom that is from real experience, and you've had so much of this unexpected that it's become normal, and you're used to life carrying fears around in your life, and that's part of the safety factor. That's part of what makes it difficult to give up, because it's what you know. Now, that doesn't mean you didn't have lives where you were safe and there weren't things coming at you from one direction or another. But when you've had these number of lives that have been very difficult, and all these unexpected things, they've left a deep imprint, you would think. Deep trauma, deep trauma, a lot of loss. And loss is coming up here too. So I want you to release loss as much as you can, because when there are these kind of unexpected, the unexpected attacks, the unexpected natural disasters, suddenly there's an earthquake, or it starts to rain, and suddenly the whole river, it's raining 50 miles away, and in these olden days there was no internet, there was no way to know, and suddenly the nice river that travels through your village floods, and it wipes the village out because it's a massive, instantaneous kind of flood, that kind of thing. So So I want you to let go of all that sense of doom, that sense of things can hit you out of left field. And I want to infuse it with divine, I wish I could think of the word, divine possibilities, that life can be peaceful. And I want that to move in, through, and around, divine peace, again, and divine serenity. Move in, through, and around the totality of you at this soul level, and to allow in the divine possibility that life doesn't need to be one of fear. I'm watching the energies. It's beginning to help with the clearing. There's so many different fears too in here that it's almost hard for you to get a handle on exactly which fear. So we're just going to say all the fears that make up the sense of doom, because there's a lot of, like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of elements here. fears of loss, fears of death and dying, fears of the unknown, fears of change, fears of betrayal, fears of failure. Just a lot of fears are a part of this because these kind of situations and conditions are complex in their own right and would engender different kinds of fears. So fears of loss is really an important one. It's not only that you're going to lose something or someone, it's also that someone is going to lose you, because there is this element, like you were speaking earlier, and I can see it here really clear, of where you have been responsible for someone or several, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's villagers, whether it's animals. There has been this sense of responsibility that is a very big part. It's sitting right on your shoulders, this sense of being so responsible and having to take care of others and what happens if something happens to you. And so a lot of this is fear for them if you were gone for some reason. You died, you were imprisoned, something happened to you, you got ill, you got disabled, whatever. There's a lot of sense here of fear of loss for the others, that they would lose you. So it isn't just fear of losing someone else, it's also what's going to happen if I'm not here anymore. And again, you've had these kind of situations and conditions before. I'm getting a flip book effect. The higher selves are indicating to me many, many lifetimes where when you've laid aside the body for whatever reason, you have been devastated in many times with who you've left behind. Remember that many of the lifetimes that you've had, that we've all had, were back in Middle Ages, Dark Ages, tribal societies, not only on this planet but in other planets, where we didn't have the medical facilities, we didn't have the social support that we have now, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Google, we didn't have these kind of things where people left behind could get help. We had many subsistence lives, and if someone was the main food getter and that person died or became disabled, many people would starve. And so you've laid aside the body, you've experienced this really traumatic sense of loss where you felt you weren't as responsible, you didn't do enough to protect those that you left behind. And there's guilt here too, tremendous amount of guilt and suffering and shame, and oh my gosh, it's heartbreaking. And it's so you have all these elements of fear here that, and part of the safety is if you become hyper vigilant and keep that fear up and you're so careful not to have anything happen, you're doing a better job for those who are relying on you. That's part of the wanting to keep the fear too. I didn't understand so much of it in the beginning, and there's so many, it's so complex here, Marleni, really. Yikes. And so I really want you to release this burden of responsibility, this idea that the guilt, the shame, the devastation when you felt you left loved ones unprotected, and it was just devastating for you, and that fear keeps you hypervigilant. It's a way to keep yourself safe so that you can keep the ones relying on you safe. So it's very convoluted, which is so normal for us. So many convoluted, and I want you to just keep releasing as much as you can the fear. And I want to call in divine forgiveness. It's really important for you to forgive yourself for these things as much as you can, to let go of the guilt, the shame, the upset, the worry, the blame, a lot of self-blame coming out. I want divine forgiveness to come in. Divine forgiveness for the self is the real biggie. The divine forgiveness for the self. And so I see that moving in, through, and around, and we want divine love to come in too, because divine love is such a healing energy. It's the highest, most effective divine energies that we have access to. And so we want the divine love and the divine forgiveness to work together to really go in and start to heal this whole pattern. And it is I see it moving in, and I'm going back to the original image I had of you, sort of bending down and afraid and just hiding out in plain sight. There was really nowhere to hide. And I feel as if I'm going to call in divine breath, because I feel like for the first time in a long time, you've let off enough layers that you can actually breathe deeper. There's actually a sense of peace and relief, because that fear, just you were saying, the anxiety was so draining. And it was as if you couldn't take full deep breaths. You couldn't fully relax. And so I want you to, let's get to that, releasing that, all the energy loss, the draining part of it, the exhaustion part of it, the part that keeps you awake at night, all of that. Let's release all of that too. And I do see you standing up now, and you're standing in the field, and there is a sense of safety here. I want to call in divine safety and divine security, whatever it is, known and unknown, whatever energies that will give you the self-empowerment, so that you move to the place of understanding that with your pure soul essence, you are in charge. We're in a completely different environment now. And you know, you're aware you have the pure soul essence, you know how to use it, you've used it extremely effectively over the few years I've known you. You've come into a very different place of being. It's just, you've done a 180 several times, and today it's as if now you're tapping into that knowingness, the divine connection to the self, knowing that you are your pure soul essence, and that you are the directing identity of your life, and you're tapping into that knowingness. You're tapping into the knowingness. You've done it before, you've shifted your life before, and you're going to continue to do it. There's a great unfoldment now that's going to come forward. I'm putting in divine opportunity and divine unfoldment, divine transformation, and divine freedom. We want the freedom from this very difficult fear that you've had. And we have to wind it down, where the show is almost over. So I want to, the higher selves are indicating they're putting the cocoon energy around you, and that's going to help you to both continue to process, even though the session is over, and you're also going to acclimate to all the changes. And with that,
Wow.
that was complex. Did you get it?
Yes, definitely.
Well, I wanted to, before we end, I just want to tell the viewers a story about what one of the things Marleni helped me with.
Aw.
I don't have much time, but it was in December. Marleni and Shasta and I wanted to get together, and Shasta could not come, so we just met, the two of us. And I had this situation with a family member of mine that she just wasn't able to accept me and my work at all. And it was just like the elephant in the room. She wouldn't say nasty things or anything. It wasn't like that. It was just not accepting it. We never discussed it. She never just, it was just kind of like a void. And so I was telling Marleni about it. So she said she would help me, and so we were working. And she said to me, well, Janet, it's because you're not fully accepting yourself. And there was just something, the way she said it, that it was so profound, I started to cry. And she knows well.
I remember.
Tears running down my eyes. And I went, that's it. Now, I've worked on that pattern so many times that it wasn't in my conscious mind. It was so deep, though, I hadn't gotten to all the way to the bottom layers. And what Marleni tapped into was that deep well, that was some deepness that was still there. Some deep place that was still there, and oh my gosh, she just triggered it off by mentioning it, and my life did a 180. I would not be sitting here right now. I mean, I've been doing this career for, 6, 7 years, but I realized I hadn't I hadn't accepted myself fully. You know, I inherited a huge amount of work from the woman I learned from, but I only share the tip of the iceberg. And I thought, I'm going to share all of it. And so on my other radio show on Wednesdays in January, I began unfolding all of this other information that I hadn't shared with anybody up till that time. I started moving into the media. I started doing so much more because of Marleni. And I just have to share that with the viewers and my heartfelt gratitude. And you know, I'm going to cry again. Because, and that's what I mean, the thing about this work is it just keeps expanding you.
Mm-hmm.
It moved me to a whole new level that I wasn't even aware. I wasn't aware, not aware at all, that I had that. And that's why getting together with buddies, guys, is really important.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just a little thing.
You make
you've
the
done
time.
a lot for me too, and Shasta has done a lot for me. So
we've done a lot for each other. That's
exactly.
just my latest
Mhm.
huge breakthrough, because we've hardly met this year because all of us are so busy.
Yes.
But, I mean, Marleni also bought a home. She
I
was
know.
pregnant, had a baby, you know. Anyway,
Life happens.
Life. So we haven't met hardly at all this year, but in the past couple of years, it's been huge what kind of things we've helped each other with. And you just keep going. I mean, I
Mhm.
just never will stop.
Of course.
So, anyway, my guest next week is Preston Gazowski. Preston Gazowski, he is from Hawaii. He is a surfing teacher, and he is also an actor trying to make a go of it here in LA. He's been here for 3 years. I didn't know him before, so here I know Marleni really well. But he's a friend of a friend, and he's interested in coming on the show. I think you're going to find it really interesting. It's a whole new approach, guys. And then also, I want to thank you so much, Marleni.
Oh, thank you. This was
Taking
really
time out, and I want to thank
course.
Peter, because he's helping out, and of course he helps out all the time with Gavin, with
Mhm.
her son. So, you know,
It was really nice to be here.
Oh.
Really, I appreciate that. And I wanted to congratulate you for the gold medal you just won on your wonderful book.
Oh, well, thank you. They're signaling me.
I
2
know.
minutes. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I know. It was such a shock, and I did mention it on my show last week, but I did win the gold medal in the it's a literary award or contest for ebooks, and you know, people who've self-published, and they have many different categories. Mine was New Age, Mind, Body, Spirit, and I won the gold medal.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh! And I just did it on a whim, but it's so exciting. I really
Yes.
can't quite believe it yet. Anyway, but thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
No, it's a big thing, so I'm very proud of you, and I congratulate you
Thank
for
you
that.
so much. I really appreciate it. So anyway, stay tuned for next week, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Love having all of you viewers, whether it's live or archived. And Marleni, again, you're so sweet to be on the
Oh.
show. Really?
Oh,
And I understand
thank
you
you.
have to go back to work
Yes.
next week? No, what, in 2
No,
weeks?
in 2 weeks.
2
yes.
weeks. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, that's tough.
So I'm very glad we did this now.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad. I'm really glad.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, I'm going to say goodbye until next week.
You are watching T Radio Me, Radio and TV.